Hi everyone, I'm going to go ahead film another lesson today, module 1.5. This is still under unit 1, module 1, which is expressions. So we are going to be talking about expressions involving absolute values. That's our next lesson, module 1.5. And if you look at our learning target, I can evaluate absolute value expressions. So let's quickly refresh our memory. What is absolute value? So absolute value is the distance of a number from 0 on the number line. And two integers can have exactly the same absolute value, or two numbers can have exactly the same absolute value. So if I say, what's the absolute value of 7? And I'm going to write it like this. And this tells me that this is absolute value. So how far is 7 from 0 on the number line? It is going to be 7 because distance is positive, right? How far is negative 7 from 0 on the number line? That distance is also 7 units. So that is why we are going to say that 7 or negative 7 are going to have exactly the same absolute value because their distance is 7 units from 0 on the number line. And that's basically what absolute value is. All right, so let's go ahead and we are going to do a problem, and I'm going to take you over here and we're going to write out the correct format for these using absolute value. So look what it's saying for thermometers. It's talking about the accuracy of a meat thermometer is the positive difference between the temperature reading on the thermometer T and the actual temperature of the meat, which is M. So we are going to complete the statements about which expressions are and are not equivalent to the accuracy of a meat thermometer. So I am going to go ahead and write out 4 different expressions. Okay, so I'm going to write out M minus T. I'm going to write absolute value of M minus absolute value of T. And I am going to write absolute value of T minus M. And I'm going to write the absolute value of T minus the absolute value of M. So I have put 4 different expressions and we are going to look at which of these are going to be correct. So let's look at the first one. We have the absolute value of M minus T. Now let's look at over here. What did it say? The positive difference between the temperature reading on the thermometer, which is T, and the actual temperature of the meat, which is M. So we're looking at the positive difference. Okay, so this expression, the first one, is going to be equivalent to the accuracy of a meat thermometer because it represents the difference between the measurements, and it is always positive because it is the absolute value of the difference. So this one here is correct. All right, so when I find the difference, we know that it is going to be the absolute value of the difference. So this expression is equivalent to the accuracy of the meat thermometer. Let's look at the second one. Absolute value of M minus absolute value of T. And this expression is not going to be equivalent to the accuracy of a meat thermometer in all cases, because if T is greater than M, then this is going to be negative. Then this is going to be a negative answer. Okay, if T is greater than M, then you're going to get a negative answer. So that is why this is not correct. Okay, let's let's look at the next one. The expression absolute value of t minus m. This is equivalent to the accuracy of a meat thermometer because it represents the difference between the measurements, and it is always non-negative because it is the absolute value of the difference. So this is also going to be correct. And let's look at the last one. It's saying absolute value of t minus absolute value of m, and this expression is not equivalent to the accuracy of a meat thermometer in all cases, because if m is greater than t, then t minus m is going to be negative. Okay, then it will be negative. So therefore this one is not correct. So let's go ahead and look at another problem. Let's look at this one. And we're going to see which of these is the correct expression. All right, so let's read the question. And hold on. There we go. Trying to make sure that you can see the whole board. Let me try to take this over here. All right, so let's look at this problem. And it's saying, at an amusement park, a vendor attempts to guess a person's weight. If they are not within 3 pounds, then the person will win a prize. If a person weighs 168 pounds and the vendor makes a guess of X pounds, which expression represents the number of pounds a winning guess is away from the actual weight? So let's look at this one. Okay, it's saying the vendor attempts to guess a person's weight. If a person weighs 168 pounds and they have got to be within 3 pounds, right? So this cannot be it. So because it's got to be 168 minus the X, because which is representing the weight. Okay, it's not added, it's not 3 minus. So this one is the correct expression. Absolute value of 168 minus X is what is the correct expression for this statement or this sentence which is provided here. Okay, next what we're going to do is we are going to evaluate absolute value of an algebraic expression. So let's look at this problem, and we can see it's asking us to evaluate absolute value of negative 2xy plus 5y, and then it's given me what x is equal to, what y is equal to. So we are going to definitely go ahead and we are going to use substitution. We are going to replace x with 6 and y with negative 3, and then we are going to solve for this. So we're going to have absolute value of negative 2, and it said x is how much? X is 6. Okay, so I am going to replace x with 6 and y is negative 3. So I am going to replace the y with negative 3. And then I have plus, we've got 5 times, what is y? Negative 3. Okay, and here's the absolute value of this whole thing. So now when I look at this, I am going to get 2 times 6 is 12 and 12 times 3. So negative times positive gives me negative, and then negative times negative is going to give me positive. So, or I can say 6 times negative 3 is negative 18, and negative 18 times negative 2 is going to give me 36. Okay, so we have 36 and we have 5 times negative 3. So opposite signs, I'm going to get minus 15. and then I have absolute value of 36 minus 15, and that gives me absolute value of 21. And what is the absolute value of 21? That gives me 21 is my answer to this problem. Let's look at this one. When evaluating algebraic expressions, absolute value bars act as a grouping symbol. So you're going to perform any operations inside the absolute bars first. So if I look at this one, I am going to pull this down a little bit so I can perform. There we go. And we are now going to go ahead and we're going to evaluate this. So we have been given that x is equal to 2. So I'm going to substitute that value there. And we are going to solve this problem by writing out 23 minus absolute value of 3 plus 4. And then we have, what is the value of x? It is 2. So 4 times 2. All right, 4 times 2. And then we have this. Okay, so next I look at, okay, I have 23 minus, and then we're going to put the absolute value of 3. And then what is 4 times 2? It gives me 8. Right? So now, next thing I'm going to do is I am going to do 8 plus 3, and that gives me 11. So 23 minus absolute value of 11. And what is the absolute value of 11? So I'm going to just take this up here. Absolute value of 11 is going to be 11. So minus 11. And the reason I put the minus, why? Because the minus sign is outside my absolute value sign. Okay? And so 23 minus 11. And my answer is going to be 12. Okay? So that's all about absolute value. And remember, absolute value is nothing but the distance of a number from 0 on the number line. And when we are solving our absolute value problems and we are given the value of variables, we just substitute those values into the expression before we solve it, and then we just follow the order of operations, which is PEMDAS. Have a fantastic day, everyone.